Hello everybody, how's it going? I'm the Timmeister and welcome back to the greater Timbukton region for another episode of the series. In today's episode, guys, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of interesting things. First, we're going to start off with a pretty large golf course. It's going to be a lot larger than any we've built before, and we're also going to get on into a Hilltop resort here in a couple of minutes after we're done the golf course. So as you can see me doing on the screen right now, we're starting to develop the golf course right away, and I'm using a different golf course pack than the one near Aberdeen, and I think this one has a little bit better textures. They're a little bit darker, and I think that they blend in with the environment a little bit better than the older pack that we were using. I think they're a little newer as well. I think they're like maybe a year or two newer than the older ones that we used in the last golf course episode. So they definitely look better, and they do justice a little bit better than the older golf course pack. And I think you do have like more variety too. You have like a lot more holes. So what I had planned originally for this area, I was just gonna do, generic farmland and homes and maybe a couple of cottages along the water. And I thought to myself, why don't I build something interesting in this region just to liven up the area and, just to bring you guys another unique episode. So that's why I opted for the golf course. Now, I know golf courses aren't really that much interesting. I mean, there's plenty of people who have developed them on YouTube, but this is only part of a large recreational area. So first we're going to develop the golf course. A little later on the episode, we're going to develop the Hilltop Resort, and in a future episode, not next episode, but like maybe in 2 or 3 down the line, we're going to develop the largest beach in the area. So beaches are something that we've done quite a few times in the series just yet, and I want to bring sort of a unique spice to the area too. So it's not going to be a conventional beach like we've seen before. There's going to be a little bit more going on than we're used to. But first we're going to start off with the golf course, and like I said, we're going to develop the Hilltop Resort for this episode. It's going to be pretty special, and this was honestly like one of the funnest episodes I've created so far, just because it's the idea of the Hilltop Resort just sort of popped into my head last minute. I was going on trying to think of different things that I could build on the hill, and when the resort popped into my head, I thought it was a perfect location for it. So by the hill, I'm talking about like the large, well, it's not really that big, but it's a little hill that's just west of the golf course. So the Hilltop Resort, as soon as I got the idea to create such a thing, I went on the workshop, and I did have quite a hard time finding some nice assets to build the resort until I stumbled upon these nice, they're kind of like wooden, like log cabins or something similar, and they have like a large resort main building, and I thought that was pretty cool. And as soon as I saw that on the workshop, I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I'm going for. That's exactly what I had in mind when planning this sort of area. So that's what I opted to go for, and you'll just see in a couple of minutes here. So, but for now, let's focus on the actual golf course. As you can see me doing right now, I am plopping obviously the greens, and I'm doing the parking lot, and eventually, in just a second here, I'm going to get into the clubhouse. I don't really remember what I used for the clubhouse. There's not a whole lot of clubhouse-esque buildings on the workshop, so I have to make do with just random buildings in my inventory. So I'm not even sure what I used here to create this, but nonetheless, it looks pretty nice. It's pretty generic, but I mean, a golf course honestly is not the main focus of this entire area. I'd just like to mention in this episode that I'd highly recommend you guys go check out the Discord page that I've been talking about recently in my videos. And once again, that Discord channel is to get all the news and what's going on in the Timbukton as well as the Aurelia nation as a whole. So there's a whole bunch of interesting things going on there, so I highly suggest you go on and check that out. The link is down in the description. But the reason why I want to talk about that now is I just held a little test contest, if you will, for a flag for the nation of Aurelia. So again, if you don't know anything about Aurelia, go on and check out the Discord page. There is a little bit of info so far on what it is. Basically, it's a fictional nation that I'm creating, and I'm working on that off and on, and recently I've been putting a little bit more work into it. It's pretty hard to dedicate a whole bunch of time on it just because I'm so busy with other things. But I am working on it quite actively at the moment. I'm working on a large roadmap that's going to be available for you guys pretty soon. So carrying on now, what I've done is I created a little contest where everybody could post their own rendition of a flag for Aurelia. And I've gotten, I think, 4 submissions when I held that contest. So it did turn out quite well. We've chosen a flag. We had a vote, and I think the flag won about 50% of the vote, if I remember correctly. And it's a pretty nice flag. So I suggest you go on to the Discord and check that out. And what I'm planning on doing in the not too distant future is holding some more contests like those. So obviously, well, not obviously, but Aurelia has, I think, 5 provinces. I'm not even sure, guys. But it has a variety of different provinces within the country itself. So eventually we're going to have to create a flag for each of those provinces. We're going to have to do like a provincial flower or something, or a provincial animal. I'm not really sure how that whole thing works. I think in Canada there's a provincial flower and a provincial bird. I think that's how it works. So I'm going to figure something out, and I'll be posting any sort of contest that will be held on that Discord channel. So if you guys have any Photoshop skills or any sort of graphical, any sort of skill that might be useful in this sort of setting, go on and check that out, guys. And there's some discussion going on in that Discord channel about Aurelia and Timbukton. If you guys have any suggestions, go on and check that out. So I am quite active on that page, and I try to answer you guys' questions as much as I can. So yeah, I mean, I'm just really trying to promote the Discord channel, trying to get a little bit more following going on. I think we're at about 50 members now. So it's not very big at the moment, but I'm confident that it'll get a little bit more momentum going here. So yeah, I have been dedicating quite a bit of time in the game. I'm releasing this video a little bit later than I originally anticipated, but that's just because I'm super busy with other things. And in the not too distant future, guys, I'd like to expand the channel into another game. And by that, I've recently picked up Frostpunk, which is a new sort of survival city builder that just came out on the Steam store. And so I picked that up. It was like $30, and I've been playing it a little bit. At the time that I made this video, I've put in like 20 minutes, and that's it. So I'm gonna, in the not too distant future, I'm gonna be bringing some content to you guys with that. Yeah, I'm not going to focus too much time on it because I guess it is a pretty short indie game, or so I've read from the reviews, so it's not going to be like an extensive series, just something to break up the norm, and to see if you guys would be interested in some little off series here and there. I did try to do this indie game a little while ago. I think it was like a year and a half now, and that didn't really turn out too good. It was a fun little game though, but it sort of went out of my my realm, I guess. So I'm gonna try to focus the channel mostly on city building games and maybe some survival games here and there. But I don't want to stray too far from my roots with this channel. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in this video regarding other things than the actual City Sky game. So if we get back into the game now, I've finish plopping down all the greens and all the greenery to go along with it, and I'm gonna start plopping down some props. So I forget how many holes this golf course has, but it is quite large, and the greens that I've used in this golf course are a lot larger than the ones near Aberdeen. They're like huge compared to Aberdeen. So yeah. So now we are on top of the hill, and you know what? I think I should do a vote to name the hill and to name the resort. So that's gonna be what's going on this episode, guys. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Name the resort, and we'll name this hill that it's going to be on. So if you guys want it to have like the same name, perhaps we'll do that. So leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions. I am totally open to anything. So yeah, as I mentioned before, the resort's going to have this sort of log cabin feeling, and what I've found, well, you can see me plopping it down right here. I found this on the workshop. I wasn't really looking for anything specific, but it was just the perfect timing. You know, because sometimes you have these situations where you're looking for a specific asset or a prop or something, and you just can't find it, but then you stumble upon it while looking for other things. This was this sort of situation, and as soon as I saw this resort on the workshop, I was like, this is super useful. I might use this in the future, and it turns out I did. So yeah, that's awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, the whole resort's gonna have a sort of log cabin feel, and you see this main building right here. So obviously this is like the I don't know what you would call it, like the main area of the resort, and all along this mountain here are going to be some smaller log cabins that you can rent out for, you know, you and your family. If you just want a small cabin, I'm going to put some larger cabins as well. So this resort is going to be quite large, and I'm just laying down the little roads here, and I think I end up changing this up if I remember correctly, because you don't have any I don't think you can plop anything against these roads. You don't see like the little tiles on the side of the road, so I think I had to change that up to support the cabins. But anyways, sometimes you just run into some little issues that you got to address, but nothing too major. And you know, this, like I mentioned earlier, this was super fun to build. I've never built anything like this, and it was a pretty good experience. So as you can see right now, I'm plopping down some medium-sized cottages, and we also have some small cabins, and all different styles, different sizes. So I'm just gonna go and plop a little bit of each, and make up, you know, a different variety of things on the resort. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. As you can see, we have a huge pool there. Nice views of the ocean, and I made sure to not overly plop trees in behind of the resort, because I didn't want to block the view of the water from the cottage. So I would often bring my camera down to like people level and see what the view looked like from the Sims point of view, and you know, just tried to get the area to look nice and appealing for travelers. So this right here, guys, was a huge struggle. I was trying to bring a path to, you know, sort of bridge these two areas together, but this huge cliff was proving to be a pretty big problem. And, you know, the roads that I wanted to use weren't really slope conforming like I would have hoped. There's these new stairs that plopped up on the workshop not too long ago, and they are quite neat, although they don't work really good. I don't know if it's me just not using them properly, but I'm not a huge fan of them. They look a little bit better than they do in the game on the workshop, so I don't know, it's probably just me. But anyways, I end up abandoning that idea and just saying screw it, they'll have to do a little detour. But that's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm using the tree changer, or the prop changer mod, or whatever it's called. It's called Prop It Up, but I mostly use it just for editing the trees on buildings, rather than going in the asset manager and, you know, going through every building and changing all the props. Of course, that's a really effective method to customizing buildings, but I never really know what buildings I'm going to be using in each episode, so for me to go through thousands of props and buildings and assets and editing them, that's not really it's not really feasible in my opinion. So I prefer just to edit them in the game, and usually by editing just the trees on each asset is enough to get it to look up to par. Okay guys, so as we approach the end of the episode, I'm just going to be adding a few last minute details such as bushes and hedges and a few trees. But before we end this episode, I am going to finish up the entire hill. So I'll be adding some trails here and there. So because this is a coastal region and because it's, the terrain is quite elevated, I'm also going to build a really nice sort of lookout point where people can go and gaze at the amazing views the Timbukton region has to offer. So we'll be getting into that into just a few seconds here. So I'm going to add the secondary parking lot for the park area and plopping down just some randomly placed trails. Well, I guess not completely random, I just try to follow the terrain a little bit. But right here is where the nice lookout's going to be, and I'm going to be detailing that a little bit as well, adding some barriers so people don't go flying off cliffs. That would not be good. So yeah, that is pretty much going to conclude this episode. So like I was saying earlier guys, go check out that Discord page. Also leave me some suggestions for the name of both the golf course and the resort area. So I guess we can sort of match the resort with the hill. But, come up with anything you guys want, and I'm pretty much game for anything. So this trail that I'm doing right here before I leave there, guys, this trail is going to connect to the beach area that we're going to get into later on. And, yeah, I can't wait to get into that because that's going to be a quite large beach. And what I'm doing right now is I'm plopping down a radio tower. Of course, we're going to take advantage of the high terrain to plop down a nice radio tower to get the max amount of signal. Not really sure what the radio tower is for, but let's just assume it's a cell phone tower or something, communications tower. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be it for the episode. So stay tuned till the end, guys, because we're going to get into some cinematics as usual at the end of each episode. And I'll explain that more in the next episode, but I think you guys would be pretty excited to know that we're going to start to develop downtown Burton in the next episode. And just to give you guys a quick overview of why I'm doing that, basically It's easier to start from a downtown location and spread outwards than it is to start from the suburbs and make your way into downtown. So that's the main reason why I'm doing that. So stay tuned for that, guys. It's going to be super awesome. Now, with all that being said, if you guys like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for much more content on the way. And until the next time, guys, please take care.